Dear friends, may the Lord give you peace. Words so familiar to us are ringing in our ears, staying awake. It is interesting that the Church offers this to us in the context of the Gospel passage on the first Sunday of Advent. From the calendar itself, we know that there are 4 Advent Sundays. We observe its climax in the miracle of the birth of the incarnated Word, Christmas. And these are more or less things that should not be repeated, because we already know them very well. And that is a very nicely designed trap, which does not appear to be a bad thing. What characterizes it is its imperceptibility, more precisely its lulling. But making a certain distance, it becomes very noticeable. What I'm talking about is routine. In our context, routine would mean knowing the information, but not comprehending it at the same time. Paraphrasing St. Augustine, we can say that we are informed that God is coming in the form of a newborn child, but we are not transformed by that. We can very easily allow this Advent to pass like any ordinary December, and that the features of Christmas are limited to the Mass gathered around us, meaning friends and family, while we place Christ in the Christmas word within us in some dear and sentimental frames of a newborn child. But God, as God, often knows how to act differently from our expectations. Leaning on the Gospel passage that has been given to us today, we can ask ourselves the following: who, please, would hope that God would come into the world in the conditions that He chose for Himself? It is precisely from this perspective that the Church offers us the Lord's words that call us to stay awake as a starting point for this Advent. It is as at the beginning of the new liturgical year, the Church wants to give us some New Year's resolutions, that we will walk actively through life and recognize God in His signs. And how well that task is fulfilled in this place, in MEĐUGORJE. How many times have we found people praying here? Perhaps it's better to say, have we ever been able to observe a pilgrim doing something else that is not merely connected to something spiritual? Because in this, they recognize the tool that God gave them as a certain permanent signpost that points to Him. How many times, as in the Gospel, has this place resounded with the message of an invitation to stay awake? And who would have hoped that in this place, God would act in the lives of some people who could not even imagine themselves within the framework of the Catholic community. And then later, all of a sudden, they would become its ardent members, if not priests, monks, and nuns. The Gospel mentions Noah. His Old Testament characteristic is very interesting. The writer says that he walked faithfully with God. As he walked, we can say that his life was constantly marked by something new, since God is never a God of the same, the tested, or let's say, God of the routine, but always gives us something new and often unexpected. At the same time, we see that Noah received this God's new unconditionally. When the writer very nicely brings us the information that he was actually not the one who just knew that God was with him, but he comprehended it, and he was faithful to that mystery of God's closeness and tenderness. Taking a certain time lapse, we do not notice anything else here as we observe the pilgrims who have been coming here for more than 40 years, looking for answers and motivation and direction to instill God's new in their permanence. Therefore, dear friends, stay awake. God bless you.